picture the most powerful woman in the ancient world. What do you see? Elizabeth Taylor in heavy eyeliner, a beautiful Egyptian woman floating down the Nile, draped in gold, seducing powerful men. That image is 2,000 years old, and almost entirely wrong. Here is who Cleopatra actually was, and the truth is far more extraordinary than any movie ever dared to show you. Cleopatra VII was born in 69 BC. Not in Egypt, her family, the Ptolemies, were Greek. They had ruled Egypt for nearly 300 years, and in all that time, not a single one of them had bothered to learn the Egyptian language. Not one. Until Cleopatra. She was the first ruler of her dynasty to actually speak Egyptian. She also spoke 9 other languages: Greek, Ethiopian, Hebrew, Arabic, Aramaic, Latin, Parthian, Median, Troglodyte. 9 languages. She didn't seduce powerful men with her looks. She walked into a room and could speak to every person in it in their own language. That was her power. She became Queen of Egypt at 18 years old. 18. Her father had just died. Her younger brother, 10 years old, was technically her co-ruler, because Egyptian law required a female ruler to have a male co-ruler, even if that male co-ruler was a 10-year-old child. Within 3 years, her brother's advisors had turned against her. She was driven out of her own palace, out of her own kingdom, forced to flee into the desert. And here is where most people's story of Cleopatra begins, with Julius Caesar. But here is what the movies always get wrong about that meeting. Cleopatra did not seduce Caesar because she was beautiful. She outmaneuvered him because she was brilliant. Caesar was in Alexandria. He controlled the city. Her brother's forces controlled the palace. She needed to get inside to make her case. So she had herself wrapped in a carpet, smuggled past enemy lines, carried through Caesar's door, and unrolled at his feet. Think about what that took. Not beauty, not luck, absolute nerve, total calculation. The mind of someone who had already decided they were going to win. Caesar was 52 years old. He had conquered half the known world, and he had never met anyone quite like her. She was not the most beautiful woman in the ancient world. Ancient historians who actually met her say so themselves. Plutarch, who wrote about her in detail, said her beauty was not in itself so remarkable. What was remarkable was the force of her personality, her intelligence, the way she made every single person she spoke to feel like the most important person in the room. She was a mathematician, a philosopher, she wrote medical texts, she understood economics well enough to devalue Egyptian currency to fund her military. She was not a woman who used her body to gain power. She was a woman who used her mind. And the world spent 2,000 years turning her into something smaller. When Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC, everything changed. Cleopatra was in Rome, suddenly alone, in a city that had just killed the most powerful man in the world. She took her son and left, quietly, carefully, alive. That decision alone tells you everything about who she was. She did not panic, she calculated. Then came Mark Antony. And here's where history gets complicated, because their relationship was real. They had 3 children together. They built an empire together. They dreamed of a world where Egypt and Rome were equal powers. Not Rome above everyone, equal. That dream terrified the Roman Senate. When Octavian, the future Emperor Augustus, defeated their forces at the Battle of Actium in 31 BC, everything collapsed. Antony died first. Cleopatra was captured, and she understood immediately what Octavian wanted. He wanted to parade her through the streets of Rome, in chains, as a trophy, as proof that Rome had conquered Egypt, as proof that Rome had conquered her. She did not let that happen. On the 12th of August 30 BC, Cleopatra chose her own end. The exact method is still debated by historians. The snake, the famous asp, is probably a story invented later. What is certain is this: she chose it herself. on her own terms, in her own time. She was 39 years old. After her death, Octavian did something that tells you exactly how much he feared her memory. He had her son killed, her eldest child, the one who had a legitimate claim to both Egypt and Rome, gone, because even dead Cleopatra was dangerous. For 2,000 years, the world remembered her as a seductress, as a woman defined by the men she loved. But look at what she actually did. She saved her kingdom twice. She spoke 9 languages. She was a scientist, a philosopher, a mathematician, and an economist. She faced the most powerful empire on earth, and she chose her own ending rather than be anyone's trophy. That is not a seductress. That is one of the most extraordinary human beings who ever lived. And history spent 2,000 years trying to make you forget it. This is Ancient Pulse, where the real story finally gets told. Subscribe, because the truth about history's greatest women is always more powerful.